So today I'm going to be talking about the 5 things I wish I knew at the start of my eczema journey. Hi, I'm Christina David. I am a registered nurse and health coach, and I work with people who have systemic contact dermatitis to nickel or cobalt or systemic nickel allergy syndrome. So this video is for people who have the systemic version of a nickel or cobalt allergy. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, head to my website, ChristinaDavidWellness.com, and I have a lot of information for you. Here are the 5 things. I'm gonna jump right in. First thing, patch testing. I know I sound like a broken record, but you need to have patch testing in order to figure out what you're allergic to. You could be allergic to nickel or cobalt or chromium. There's different metals that you could be allergic to. Some people are allergic to gold. And then you could also be allergic to other substances that are in lotions and other everyday items. So you want to definitely identify all of your allergens so that you can successfully avoid them. Don't be surprised if you have to request patch testing with your dermatologist or allergist. A lot of us had to request patch testing. It wasn't offered to us. And a lot of us have multiple contact allergens. And the reason why is because once our skin barrier is compromised, so once you have rashes and eczema, and the chemicals or substances from products can seep into your circulation, and your body can identify that substance as an invader, and that is how we are sensitized. So it's important to have patch testing, and if you have open rashes on your hands, it is really important that you protect them so that you're not coming into contact with all of the metal and the other common contact allergies in your environment. And allergic contact dermatitis is a type 4 hypersensitivity. The immune response is mediated by T cells. That means that the responses are delayed. So it will take, on average, 2 to 4 days to experience a rash after you have been exposed to your allergen. This is also the case when we eat food. Although some people do seem to react very quickly, most of us, it takes 2 to 4 days before we, say, develop a rash after eating chocolate. Second point, avoid heavy metal detox diets and supplements. When I first realized I was reacting to nickel and cobalt in my diet, I thought I must have an excessive amount, and I went to see an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he recommended a heavy metal detox protocol. He gave me a whole slew of supplements, and it only made me worse. So oftentimes a lot of the supplements or the foods that go along with these heavy metal detox protocols are really high in nickel and cobalt, and so you're just adding to your nickel and cobalt load, and it delays healing. Take my advice, avoid these heavy metal detox diets and protocols. And if you're working with a practitioner that doesn't understand that this is an allergy, not a toxicity, then I recommend sharing research articles with them so that they can become informed. And a lot of people don't know about this allergy, so don't be surprised if even naturopaths and regular allergists don't know about systemic contact dermatitis or systemic nickel allergy syndrome. But there are a lot of research articles that have been published that show this is a proven allergy. You can find those on the resource page of my website. And because I'm extra special, I tried medical medium protocols to heal my liver. And spoiler alert, it didn't work for me. It just delayed my healing. These diets and detoxes will definitely not cure you of a nickel or cobalt allergy. Best thing you can do to manage this allergy at this point is to adopt strict avoidance strategies. Third mistake, be strict about avoiding contact. I realized I had systemic contact dermatitis to food at first. I knew that I was allergic to my wedding rings. I stopped wearing them. But after that, I wasn't so cognizant of what I was touching. I just knew not to have prolonged contact with metal. And I was really focused on what I ate and the low nickel diet. This got me into trouble a few times when I was assigning blame to food when it was actually, like in my case, one time I reacted to a leather bag. Cobalt is found in some leathers and also new clothes. So you want to keep in mind that we can be reacting to food and to things that we touch, even if the contact wasn't so prolonged. So you really want to avoid all contact at all times. And also, it is really hard to assign blame to one particular thing that you've eaten or touched because nickel and cobalt is so widespread in our environment. It's really about accumulation. It's not so much about that one thing that you ate or that one thing that you touched. It's an accumulation of all these things. So do your best to avoid all contact, stay on that low nickel diet, and also avoid cooking in stainless steel, holding utensils that contain nickel. These things are all really important. My fourth thing isn't really a mistake. I did know that histamine intolerance played a role at the beginning of my journey with a low nickel diet, but once I adopted a low nickel diet, I started reintroducing foods high in histamine before I cleared my rash completely, and I think that prolonged my rashes. I think that if I was strict on a low net histamine diet in addition to a low nickel diet, I would have healed faster. It took me about 4 months, but I think I would have taken me only about 2 months if I avoided those foods high in histamine as well. So not everyone is sensitive to foods high in histamine. That is individual, and you kind of have to just figure it out for yourself. But yes, a lot of people with this allergy, when we have active flares, we are intolerant to foods high in histamine. Histamine is created in our bodies when we have an allergic reaction. It's also found naturally in foods. So when you're adding foods that are high in histamine to already an allergic reaction that you're having in your body, that can cause excessive amounts of histamine in your body. The symptoms of a histamine intolerance or excessive levels of histamine are flushing, hives, itching, insomnia, and GI issues like acid, heartburn, and it can even cause severe diarrhea. Foods that are high in histamine are tomato, eggplant, spinach, citrus fruits, aged foods like sauerkraut and vinegars, pickles, aged meats, and also leftover foods. Be careful when you have leftovers, especially if there's protein like chicken or turkey or whatever. You want to freeze those right away. When eating seafood, you want to make sure that those items are frozen and rapidly defrost before eating. Number 5, the 5th point, go slow with reintroductions. Do not make the same mistake I made. I reintroduced higher nickel foods too quickly in my diet, and it was really hard to pinpoint reactions and figure out what I was tolerating and what I was not tolerating. So you want to go slow when you are reintroducing foods, and ideally you clear your rash and wait at least like a month or 2 before starting to rotate higher nickel foods in your diet. This allergy can slowly creep up on you. So this is an allergy of an accumulation. Think of it, the bucket analogy. Once you fill your bucket up, then you start reacting. And after you have been on a low nickel diet for a long time, your levels are going to be very low, and it might take a little while for them to build before, spilling over and creating a reaction. But once your bucket is full, it does take time to bring your levels back down. I definitely noticed that when I have experimented with too many foods that are high in nickel or cobalt, it takes me a while to get back down to that level. Just like it takes a while for you to clear your rashes in the first place. It can take up to, 2 to 4 months, sometimes even longer for some people. That being said, this diet is restrictive, and there are a lot of nutrient-dense foods that we have to avoid to heal our rashes. So it is good to rotate those nutrient-dense foods in our diet, but do so safely and don't introduce more than one new food every 4 days, and keep your portions small. Portions do matter. Okay, so that is it. Those are the 5 mistakes that I made that I hope you don't make as well. Learn from me, and I hope this was helpful. For more information or daily tips, you can head to my website, ChristinaDavidWellness.com, or follow me on Instagram.